I'm Tom Baker, this is Chasing Cars, and behind me is the Lexus LM, a new model for Lexus that is coming to Australia, and it's quite different to what Lexus has done in the past. Why? Well, this is a large luxury van, and as we'll find out in today's video, the level of luxury inside can be absolutely sky high. I'm talking proper, fully flat, reclining chairs in the rear. If you splash for the top of the range model, that'll cost you over 200 grand when this vehicle gets to Australia. So what is the LM all about? Well, it's actually a response to rising demand in Australia and other places for a Lexus badged version of something like the Toyota Alphard. Now, you might know about the Alphard if you're a van spotter, but for 20 years or more, it's been Toyota's extremely successful van entrant in East Asia, where wealthy business people have used them to replace the likes of a Mercedes S-Class or a BMW 7 Series. Why? Well, I'm going to show you in today's video when we check out the interior of the LM and also take it for a drive. Before we get started, hit subscribe below. Chasing Cars, honest reviews of your next car. Brought to you by Budget Direct. So we're up front in the LM, and this particular model is a top of the range vehicle with the turbo hybrid 500h powertrain and also the highest level of interior spec. Now this will be very similar to the sports luxury that we'll get in Australia. And up here in the driver's cab, which is kind of what it feels like with the frosted glass behind me, they don't want to see me, they don't want to know me, but even just here as a driver, it's very, very comfortable and luxurious. We're sitting on semi-aniline leather, feels great. This ivory color is really beautiful if light interiors are your thing. And this parquetry wood, real wood, that dots the interior and is extensive in the rear is also really gorgeous and gives a bit of warmth to the cabin. I like it. It's also inlaid in the steering wheel, which has paddle shifters for the proper 6-speed auto that you get with this. It's not a CVT. Now, here in the center, we've got a big touchscreen with climate controls, and the van also has a Mark Levinson reference stereo. That's the highest grade of Mark Levinson that Lexus offers. Digital instrument cluster, and the build quality and the material quality all feels very, very well screwed together. Now, typically, this has been a sore point with vans, and if you look to other options like the Toyota Grandvia, for instance, you know, it's clearly derived from a commercial vehicle. You're not getting that feel in the LM whatsoever. This feels actually higher end than a Lexus RX, for instance, in terms of the materials used, but the front seat is nothing. Just wait till you see the back. But perhaps unsurprisingly, it's here in the second row where you really want to be in an LM. Now, this is an LM500h, basically the sports luxury spec that we'll be getting in Australia. So we've only got 2 rear seats back here. I'm going to flip the camera around and show you something particularly special. And that's this whole arrangement here. So not only do we have the sliding doors, as you can see, but we also have a massive screen. This is the biggest screen fitted to any car. And then above it, we've got this glass panel here through to the driver. Now, it's frosted at the moment, but it doesn't have to be frosted. You can actually make that clear. The other thing we have here is this left screen is paired to this tablet. So it's beaming from the tablet to this screen. Now, I don't think that's using Apple AirPlay. It seems to be a Microsoft-based solution. Would love to see AirPlay in a car like this to make it super easy for passengers. Now, legroom, it is massive, so I actually can't touch that screen, which is exactly what you want in a vehicle like this and what you wouldn't get in something like an LX. Naturally, we do have controls down here for your seat, so we can adjust the seat. That's good. Oh yeah, so now we're getting the full recline. Oh, it's still going back. Wow. Okay. This is quite something. All right, so that's gone back. Now I need to deal with the feet. Whoa. Whoa. Oh my goodness. Okay. So here we are in full privacy mode. We've got the blinds drawn. We've got the frosted screen between us and driver. This is really quite something. Lots of room back here. Oh yeah. All right. Driving off in the Lexus LM500h. So this is my first drive of the LM. It's happening on the support roads around Fuji Speedway. So if I was to open up the window, you can hear the sounds of some pretty cool race cars. There were MX-5s before, something pretty cool out there on Fuji. We are not taking the LM500h on track, despite my repeated pleadings to do so. Instead, we're driving around on ordinary roads, which is where you will find this vehicle. So what the heck is a Lexus LM? Well, the LM was actually introduced in 2019 in previous generation form as a Lexus adaptation of the Toyota Alphard and Velfire platform. So these are big luxury vans that are very popular in East Asia as chauffeur-driven vehicles. So I remember visiting Japan and Hong Kong and other places 20 years ago, and these vans were more common than like a Mercedes S-Class or a BMW 7 Series for executives being chauffeur-driven. Reason being, they actually have a lot of space, they're very easy to step into, you don't have to crawl down into the back seat, you just walk in, it's a van. And I think in Australia and the UK and the US for a long time, vans were synonymous with commercial vehicles and probably didn't carry that cachet of something like a big luxury sedan or luxury SUV. And I still don't think they do that. But there are many buyers in Australia, from hotels and businesses to private family buyers, for whom these luxury vans actually make an awful lot of sense. And at the moment in Australia, you really have to go through the grey import market to get yourself an Alphard or the Nissan version, the L Grand, etc. So now Lexus is going to offer Australian buyers a way into this vehicle, purchasing directly from the importer as opposed to having to go through the grey market, which is interesting. So this is a third generation Toyota Alphard platform, and what it is specifically is it's based on the TNGA K platform. So that's used under the Toyota Camry, under the Toyota RAV4. So we've got underpinnings here that we know very well. But what they've done is they've enhanced the suspension very considerably over something like a RAV4 or a Camry, but even over a Lexus ES, which is also a vehicle on the GAK platform. It is really, really comfortable. The damping feels subtle, it feels composed. I don't think this is a vehicle that's intended to be driven rapidly down a pockmarked country road, but we'll see when it comes out in Australia. We'll see how it does with that. But on these classically suburban roads or highway mock-ups that we're driving here, which have expansion joints and potholes, the LM is very settled and very comfortable. It does have Lexus adaptive variable suspension. I've just got it in comfort mode right now because I think that's what people are going to use. There's a very slight pitter-patter from the ride on what looks like a very clear surface to me. I can feel a small amount of wheel movement, so we'll see what mode is actually best when we can road test the vehicle in Australia. But by and large, this is stable, soft, supple, and comfortable, and that's exactly what its buyers want. And by the way, if you can hear some light jazz occurring as I'm talking, I think it's coming from the rear compartment. I don't know how to turn it off. That's okay. Now, two engines for Australia. LM500h, which is a 2.5 litre non-turbo 4-cylinder hybrid. That's an engine we've seen in the RAV4, ES, RX, etc. But then there's also this car. This is the LM500h. This is the 200 grand vehicle. It's a 2.4 litre turbo petrol hybrid with 200 kilowatts of power in LM guise and all-wheel drive. Probably not too many people will be tapping into the performance aspirations or the all-wheel drive system. The point of the LM500h is that it's quieter than the LM350h because it is backed by that turbo petrol engine. You just don't have to rev this vehicle at all to get it up to highway speeds. And I think that's important because quite a lot of LM buyers, particularly fleet buyers like luxury hotels, you pick people up at the airport and you want to accelerate very quietly so that everyone doesn't have to hear a gnashing non-turbo engine. I'm yet to drive the LM350, but from what we know from other vehicles on this platform, the non-turbo hybrid just has to work that much harder once you're accelerating beyond 50 or 60. The downside of the LM500h will be its fuel economy. It's a parallel hybrid rather than a series parallel, so that petrol engine is pretty much always doing something, and of course that means the fuel economy is going to be a little bit worse than the series parallel hybrid LM350h, which uses its electric motor more often. Brake pedal feel though in the LM500h is really good. It doesn't feel like a wooden hybrid brake pedal at all. Steering is very light, but the ratio actually feels quite intuitive. It's relatively direct. The view out is solid. Really long windscreen, really long dashboard, but we do have a heads-up display despite that. Nice steering wheel, leather and wood. The seat feels comfortable and it's cooled. In fact, it's very cool in the cabin. That's one thing Toyota does very well typically, but being a van, I'm pleased to report that the air conditioning is strong enough. It's really hot out there today and humid, and the LM is doing a really good job of not making that the case here in the cabin, which is exactly what I want. So I'm just following another LM, and I'm just watching the body. It's sitting really stable, not seeing a huge amount of bobbing over bumps. Seems to be one and done on the damping, which is exactly what you want. Nice Evo, what is that, 8 coming past me? Just Fuji Speedway things. So yeah, all in all, the LM, I've had a good time with my first impressions of driving it around as a chauffeur would. Relatively low speed, relatively gentle curves. Of course, the full road test will have to wait until we can get it onto our testing roads in Australia, which will reveal what this van is actually like. But from first impressions, really like it. Of course, the big elephant in the room is the massive price. Lexus actually thinks that even with the pricing they've revealed, demand is going to be greater than supply for this vehicle. So starting at $160,000 before on-road costs for an LM350h front-wheel drive, heading up to $200K for this LM500h all-wheel drive. Super fascinated to see how the LM goes in the Australian market. So that's a very early first look at the Lexus LM, which is landing in Australia before Christmas 2023, so these will be a feature of our roads before we know it. The driving dynamics seemed inoffensive, but certainly looking forward to road testing this vehicle properly on Australian roads in due course. So to make sure you don't miss that video, please hit subscribe down below, hit the notification bell, and as always, thank you for watching Chasing Cars.